Okay, cool. So hi guys, welcome to one of our Health Tie Open Innovation calls. My name is Nigel, and I'm going to be taking over your lives for the next 30 minutes as we go through some fun topics around where we are with Health Tie right now, and we've got actually a fairly interactive session today, so it should be a bit of fun as we move through this. We'll probably have a few other folks maybe joining us over the next few minutes, but I'm just going to ask folks to, if you can, stay muted, and there'll be opportunities to jump in with questions. But within Zoom, there is a chat function, so please feel free to utilize that, throw some questions in there, and I'll try and keep an eye on it. Otherwise, Jacqueline, if you wouldn't mind, keep an eye on it and let me know. Thank you. All right. So just to let you guys know, this session is being recorded. We take these recordings and we're trying to sort of log those and make them available for folks who couldn't quite catch a session right now. So just keep that in mind. You say something incredibly dumb like me. All right, moving on. So the Health Tie Open Innovation calls. We do these because we want to have a chance to listen, learn from each other, and hopefully find some connections and folks who are passionate and interested about entrepreneurship, health innovation, and just folks who are, dealing with challenges here in Alaska that may or may not be related to this, but are passionate to listen and learn a little bit more about open innovation in general and how it can be applied. Generally, these sessions, I hear someone tapping away in the background. 1 second, let me see if we can take over and mute them. All right. Yeah, I just asked you guys to mute yourselves. Otherwise, I have to press the magic button and mute everyone. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, these sessions are really a mix of short presentations. Usually, we try and keep the presentation about 15 minutes. A little bit of cross communication as there's questions go around. Oh, I see it's Santi making noises. All right, you shall be muted. Done. All right. And collaborative program building. All right. And we've also built in a sort of a monthly guest speaking series to this. So for those of you who caught the last call 2 weeks ago, we had Dirk call in from Seresti Health and gave us a presentation on his company entrepreneurship. And we'll be having a presentation in a couple of weeks, which I'll be talking about towards the end of this presentation. Quick reminder of the team. The team is growing. More and more of you guys are getting involved in helping us out. So there's now 6 of us actively involved in trying to help grow and promote this Health Tie program. Although there's been a bunch of partners in the community, you already know who you are, but special thanks to folks like Mandana this week who jumped on the call and helped us out. But myself, Nigel Sharp, where I work at the University of Alaska Anchorage is their global entrepreneur in residence, helping engage and promote entrepreneurship around the state, and has taken a special interest in this project in partnership with Kim Champney, Eric Boyer, Jacqueline Summers, Santi Gio, and Keith McCormick, who both of them have recently engaged in sort of helping volunteer some of their time. And Keith's going through a health sciences practicum right now with our team, so helping develop a lot of the content that we're going to get showcased today. So huge thanks to everyone for putting in time. And just because it doesn't look like there's more room on the slide, I can fit more people. So if you guys want to get involved and join in, it's always a good time to reach out and say, hey, how can I get more involved and what can I be doing? So why are we doing this? It really comes back to this idea of open innovation. And for those who aren't familiar with the open innovation concept, our world is strewn with wicked problems. And I'm not going to go through and define those too much, but for the most part, almost everything in the health industry is effectively a wicked problem. And that means there are multiple stakeholders with differing opinions. They're complicated to solve, economically expensive usually to put in good solutions, and they take a lot of time and effort. And there's a number of different potential ways of doing that, but sometimes they even feel like they're impossible or insurmountable in just how complicated the problems are. And that's what we do. We're taking that stuff on head on. So we're building, utilizing the open innovation program, which basically brings together different stakeholders. We work with community problems, and then we use tools that we're borrowing from the entrepreneurial world, such as rapid ideation and other tools, to come up with solutions to some of these challenges. And Health Tie and these open innovation calls are really centered around sort of embracing the power of the community with some tooling to really go on and tackle on wicked problems and specifically wicked problems in health. So some examples of open innovation for those of you who have had the chance, like this is my my office door, which I guess is the door right over there behind me. So I've been engaged in open innovation now in Alaska for the past close to 2 years or so, and we've been running a series of programs. If you haven't been to any of the programs or haven't been engaged, I highly encourage you to go and take part in one of these programs. But Health Tie, I think, is one of the most ambitious to date in what we're trying to do. We've been involved in programs such as Blue Storm and Otis, Vault 49, the Innovation Dash, Startup Weekends, as well as the Growth Space program, which led to Health Tie as we currently have it. I don't want to go into a lot of detail around that, but all I can say is that Alaska is really leading a national curve in embracing open innovation and running programs that are truly cutting edge and trying to solve and take on wicked problems, you know, everything from oceans and renewable energy all the way across to some of the endemic problems we have here in the healthcare industry. So as a quick reminder for those of you who sort of wonder where does this all come from, we ran a program with the University of Alaska's Center for Economic Development back in fall of last year called Growth Space. And Growth Space was a catalyzing program that was there to help look at the direct support professionals market and understand about direct support innovation and what could be done in that space. What came out of that was a report as pictured in the slide, where we generated a bunch of wicked problem statements. And from those wicked problem statements, we're able to generate a bunch of how might we questions. And when I talk about wicked problem statements and how might we questions, these are tools that we're borrowing again from the innovation entrepreneurial economy to push out there and engage folks in entrepreneurial thinking around some of these challenges. And what's nice about a bunch of how might we statements is as soon as you ask someone like, how might we expand the DSP workforce, or how might we attract and retain DSPs, we very quickly start finding that folks jump straight into solutions. They start coming up with ideas, and you know, we're still tackling really big wicked problems. We've just managed to break them down into provoking questions that allow us to start thinking with a solution mindset and embracing taking those challenges and those problems and turning those into true opportunities for our community. So we broke these wicked problems into 5 big pain points, and we kind of listed that out in that document. And what came out of that was a significant interest in, okay, so we now know that we want to go out there, we want to start solving problems. A bunch of people were actually ready to start solving problems. And then for some reason, I guess I spoke up a little bit louder than some others and said, whoa, hang on a second, let's not go rushing into solving problems right now, because isn't that what your industry's been doing for 30 years? How about we step back a little bit and think about building a program that would support, you know, solving these problems for a much longer time, because wicked problems are so large that it's going to take a much larger programmatic kind of approach to really take these on. And that's really what led to Health Tie. Health Tie is trying to create a program which effectively allows us to bridge service providers, like many of you on the call, with business accelerators and entrepreneurs and their startups and their innovative enterprises to engage in this sort of conversation around that. And the way we have sort of taken that initial concept and that work that we did at the Health Tie event in January is we've kind of expanded from that. Since then, we've hosted events every 2 weeks. Some of these webinars, like these open innovation calls. We've also hosted an event at the Innovation Summit down in Juneau. And you know, at this point, I think we're well over 100 people who have been engaged across the state, who are all stakeholders, either on the entrepreneurial side of the ecosystem, or they're involved in the healthcare practices and primarily direct support professional world right now, as that's where we've sort of been starting as our initial target around this. Some common threads came out of the January conversation, and this is really just a reminder for those who were there and those who weren't. It was incredible that a lot of these common threads have really guided a lot of the work that we've done since January till now, and I'll be hopefully showcasing a little bit of that in a second. So, you know, we realized that a lot of folks really wanted to think about bridging between startups and service providers. And when we say startups, we're talking about, companies who have innovative technologies or companies who are involved in the health tech community who may be able to bridge across to work with some of our service providers. We knew that sharing information between the pain points that we have in the health market with the entrepreneurs is a way of actually attracting them in, because entrepreneurs don't see problems, they see opportunities just by their default mentality. We realized that we might be able to do this by linking them through online platforms or events like pitchathon events, and this is stuff that we've taken on board as far as incorporating into our program design. And then we know there's a huge component of marketing to the innovators, and really trying to leverage the Alaskan advantage we have. So we have some disadvantages which we don't want to shy away from, but at the same time we also have some true advantages. We're a state with a huge array of different healthcare challenges, but we do them at a scale that is very manageable and approachable for many folks who otherwise, coming in, if you were trying to meet with everybody who's involved in, let's say, for example, insurance financing in a large state like California, you'd never be able to get enough bodies in the room to be able to have that conversation to make any systemic change. Here in Alaska, if we can get the right 20, 30, 40 people together, it's more achievable for us to make some real changes, make some decisions, and try things out. And therefore, we have the Alaskan advantage for us is that we are perfectly sized to be a test bed. And there's already indications that other organizations have realized this and are using Alaska as such. And the benefit of being a test bed, of course, is that you get to be first and you get to try things. At times, you get to be the guinea pig that doesn't quite make it, but other times you get to be there on the leading edge, engaging with that. And the last thing that came out of a lot of the ideas in January and the following conversations is that we should have competitive elements to this, and we should make sure that it is competitive for both sides of the equation to get involved into a program. So we've been doing some work since, and this is really just a quick update. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Santiago, who has been volunteering his personal free time. Although he's an AmeriCorps visitor and already feels like he's committing a lot of public service here in Alaska, he's decided to do even more and spend some of his free time working on the health type program. And he's been going forth by actually producing a very quick slideshow. Let me see if I can share this out with you. He's produced a quick slideshow on, let's do that. Yeah, on health accelerators and some of the different health accelerators that already exist down in the lower 48 and other parts of the world. And this is a rapid market survey. I'm just going to flick through these so you guys can see there's some great content in this. He's looked at what business accelerators are. He's looked at programs like Cedars-Sinai and Iowa and Accelerate Health and Startup Bootcamp in Miami and Launchpad Digital Health and the Tiger Labs Accelerator and so on and so forth. It's actually a really incredible report, and we're happy to sort of push this out there and share this survey with other folks who are interested to learn that, this idea of creating a healthcare accelerator and program that engages innovative enterprises with testbed providers is not a completely new concept, and therefore, this may be a way of reinforcing some of you guys to get engaged and get involved. So let me jump back to my slides. And again, if you're interested in getting a copy of that, put your name into chat right now and say, yeah, I'd like to get a copy of the rapid survey, or shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to try and get that over to you. So where was I? Here. So the conversation topic for today, and be mindful that I'm running a little bit behind schedule, is we really wanted to focus on securing testbed partners as kind of one of the first aspects as we design and grow this program. Let me just quickly check the chat and see what's going on. Oh, everybody wants a copy. Great. Okay, good. Yeah, securing testbed partners is a huge component of this. If we're trying to, engage and attract innovative enterprises from within the state, as well as from the lower 48 and maybe even beyond globally, to come to Alaska and engage with our providers, we need to have testbed partners who are going to be here ready to sort of make this program happen. And we know that without validating, there actually is some providers out there, and I'm hoping a few of you are on the phone today able to represent those providers and really be advocates within your organization, this program isn't going to move forward, and we aren't going to be able to sort of really invest in and make this thing happen. So we need to be able to, first of all, validate that there are suitable organizations here in the state who actually do want to try and take on some of this, these innovations, and work with these companies to adopt and try things out and give them a suitable test bed, and hopefully create a win-win for both sides. So a little bit on how we imagine this is going to look. We've started off by getting a web page put together. So this is news for many of you. We now have healthtide.org, and there is a very brief web page on there. But the most important piece on the web page is there's buttons to help folks sign up to our update newsletter, and we're putting that out there so that folks can get engaged and start broadcasting that out, so people can start knowing that, hey, we're here, we're trying to make this thing happen. And I do encourage you guys to share that link with other folks as you're going about and having conversations. Tell them to get the Health Tide, tell them to sign up to the newsletter, and more information will go out through that as we go forward. On the web page, I would also say we're trying to keep an archive of some of these webinar calls. So if something really interesting comes up from one of our innovative enterprises who are calling in and speaking, we would love to, we will have that out there and shared with you guys to look at. So what does the Health Tide program timeline look to, and what are we looking for what are we looking with testbed partners to really commit to? Well, the program is going to shape up and look a bit like this, and this has come from a lot of work that we've been doing in the recent weeks. We're imagining the core Health Tide program to last of about a 6-month. It's about a 6-month program. We may be able to run more than one of these a year, so we might run 1.5 programs in a year with a short break in between. But effectively, there's 3 components to it. There's a pre-program, there's the time when you're in session, there's post-program activities. And initially, pre-program, a lot of it is focused around applications from both sides, from both testbed partners, as well as applications from the innovation partners that we want to engage with. And as we market that out, we engage with those both. We then do some matchmaking work on our end. So Health Tide will be matchmaking and looking for suitable opportunities that might exist between these two groups. And what we do is we then create a statement of work that we agree with from Health Tide to the testbed partner, and from Health Tide to the innovation partner. And that statement of work will basically lay out that you're committing and agreeing to putting in the time and the resources, as well as committing to sort of like follow through on a 6-month program. So in that sense, it becomes fairly competitive because we do set the bar pretty high, but we are looking for the right mentality on both sides to make sure this is going to be a program success. So the in-session component then is centered around a couple of events, like a kickoff event, and then some initial site visits where hopefully those innovative enterprises, either in Alaska or from outside, come in and get to work directly on site with some of our testbed partners. We move forward and they start working through doing a pilot implementation of whatever it might be. It might be a new service, it might be a new product, but for example, it could be a technology integration, whatever it might be that they're integrating in with these innovative partners. And then we deploy that pilot out and hopefully generate some results. And we wrap this up with some kind of demo day and share this out with the community at large of what's happened over that 6-month sort of trial period and where that sort of got on from. That serves 2 functions. First of all, it helps raise the status of Health Tide, of course. But in addition, we hope to get a showcase for the innovative enterprises that they've had a successful test bed in Alaska, and they can use that to then hopefully raise further funding and to grow their other sort of client bases, as well as our partner organizations can show they're actually they've got an innovative mindset, they are a suitable test bed, and they've managed to achieve and hopefully create some positive metrics. We can't guarantee that, of course. Some of these test beds may turn out that this didn't work. So they are going to be experiments effectively, but still, hopefully we'll be able to follow on and then post-program, check in with folks sort of quarterly and see how the companies are progressing, as well as how are the testbed partners progressing and whether or not they continue to adopt these solutions or did it not quite fit in. And we iterate and modify the program from there and move on. This slide just has a little bit more detail on that. I don't want to spend too much time digging in, but effectively, there is the application set, the various components of planning and implementation, which is really, it's very, very important that we scope that correctly between both the innovation partner and the testbed partner. And then, making sure that pilot deployment goes well. And that's really what Health Tie's job is. We're chaperoning both sides to some extent, and we're there to be sort of, almost a consulting firm in the sense of being in between and helping make sure that the two sides are communicating and meeting their various requirements and, matching the statement of work they've signed with us. So I want to give you guys a look at what the application form will look like for this. We are going to be releasing this application form as soon as next Thursday to get initial applicants who might be very, very eager to get on board. So the application at the moment will be going out. It looks a bit like this. You'll be filling in some basic information about your organization. Again, this is specifically for the testbed partners. In addition to that, we'll have the past solution attempts and things you've already worked on in the past. So where you've tried to incorporate some sort of new innovative process or technology, and where things have worked or haven't worked in the past. In the application, we've laid out some requirements. Some of those requirements I can just speak to right now is that we expect that obviously you'll track and match the deliverables that we're agreeing to. You'll be responsive and available throughout that process, and that usually means assigning a specific staff member to be the clear point of contact for your organization with Health Tie. So we have one distinct person we can be working with, and they have a voice across the organization. And then last but not least is within that, we're also intending to be able to provide a small grant of maybe $3,500 to about $5,000 once the program's been completed, as a way of covering some of those expenses and time effects that you'd have to have with members of your team being engaged in this, as well as some of the other costs you may incur for trying something out. So it's a relatively small grant for the testbed partners, but we expect you guys to put skin in the game too for this program. So the application basically puts in sort of an interest and commitment, and we'll be doing those on a first come, first served basis. So once we launch this out, and just to put it on your calendars, that'll probably get launched either on Tuesday at an event we're heading to, or it's going to be, so we'll probably launch that on Tuesday, or it'll be in the next newsletter. So one or the other, keep your eyes open on about Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. That application will go out, and we will be looking for some of the first organizations who are most eager to get behind this and get involved to sign up and let us know. Again, we're not considering this a legally binding document, but we do want to see that you've got strong and genuine interest in trying to move this forward with us. Cool. And I really wanted to see if there was, I'm going to pause for a second because that was a lot of talking, and see if there's any quick questions on that. And we are pretty much at the end of the presentation, so we're doing good for time. Do feel free to unmute yourself if there is a question.
Nigel, can you go back to the application and scroll down to the partner requirement section one more time for me?
Absolutely, yeah. So running through that, the commitment of sort of a 6-month period to get involved in it will be, generating some sort of statement of work, which then, helps integrate what this pilot's going to look like. The benefits, as we said, that we're putting out there for you guys is going to be that, potentially you would be able to work with these innovative partners that we're bringing in, and, you'd be able to get the solution at a significantly reduced cost, if not, potentially free for a period while they're doing the pilot. We wouldn't expect them to charge you for putting a pilot into your organization. And instead, we hope to be able to cover some of their costs as well to incorporate that. So that's the big benefits that sort of come out of that. Is there any specific questions on the partner requirements right now?
Well, I'm just a little bit confused about the $3,500 grant at completion of the 6-month program. Is there restrictions around that grant, or does that grant need to be used towards this program, or how do you, I'm just unclear about the grant piece of it.
So I'll take that feedback and I'll say, we'll go back and try and give some more specificity on that. I don't know if I can answer that straight away, but I think what our intention is there is we understand there's a little bit of a risk and a cost associated with, assigning a staff member to spend some time working on this project. And what we wanted to do was ease that a little bit without making it completely, free. So I think that's the intention of it. Whether or not it's at the completion.
So it's less of a grant and maybe more of a reimbursement for time spent.
Yeah, like a reimbursement match.
Something.
Maybe we'll change the framework. Yeah. We're not entirely sure how.
You're matching our time and resources with. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it would be, the expectation is you'd probably match in with something similar, and we were kind of basing that upon that a person operating your facility may have to be sort of engaged in this like a day a week for that 6-month period, and that's how we were starting to do some of the math in our head. But we're happy to modify and adjust that. But I will change the wording on that because I understand what you mean. Grant wording is probably incorrect. Let me see if there's any other questions in the chat. So okay, so I see some questions from Andrea. So what if you worked on something in the past and wanted to share the results? So you've got an idea, Andrea? Is that what that means? Or you've done something in the past around this? Oh, it sounds like you and Jacqueline figured that out.
Yeah, and I worked on some ideas about almost 2 years ago now. And I don't really have any interest in pursuing it myself, but it's certainly an option. I've continued to think about it, and I have some ideas of where it could go forward if somebody else was interested in picking up the ball and running with it. So I'm willing to share what I learned.
So that's fantastic. I think we want to create, one of our key goals is to create community, and a community that creates innovation is a community that shares, ideas and engages one another. At the same time, we've made a few decisions on what Health Tide program will look like, and we won't be a program to start working with brand new, fresh ideas. Instead, we will try and work with startups that are a little bit further along. So they've already gone through some of those initial phases. They might have already started prototyping something, and at the point where they've got a prototype and they'd like to test bed it or deploy it somewhere and give it a try so they can actually gain some valuable customer and user feedback, and vice versa. And on our side, we get the benefits of trying out some technology. So they would have already got some validation initially up front. But that's not to say that not working with them and sharing the ideas cannot be valuable. Being really mindful of time, I'm going to just keep jumping through this. Got quick shout out for the next session. On April 18th, we're really fortunate to have Primera Blue Cross calling in. I think they're going to be calling in from Seattle. They have an innovation team, which Justin, you might be able to speak to in a bit more detail. But they'll be giving us a 10 to 15 minute presentation at the next call. And during that call, they'll be showcasing some of these actual innovative experiments they're actually running right now in Alaska. So they'll be talking about some of those projects they have ongoing right now. And I was surprised to find out they actually have a number of those projects in the works, as well as talking about what it takes to engage them and partner with them in a program like Health Tie and potentially bring them on board as a strategic partner with us. So really excited to hear from them. I think that's going to be a really great conversation. And both their innovation and teams involved in funding some of these innovative enterprises are going to be speaking. So please do come to the next call on April 18th. It's going to be at the same time as today's call, and we will try and keep it again to around 30 minutes. Because I'm really running against time, I'm just going to give a quick shout out to the folks who have already been supportive and been able to sort of help us with this up to now. Obviously, here working at the Business Enterprise Institute with Jacqueline and Santi and Keith, and being just great at hosting, and this is kind of where we're incubating Health Tie. As I've mentioned before, on Fridays here we have a lot of Health Tie buzz happening around. So if you want to stop by on Friday and get involved, shoot us an email, and we'd love to have you here and get involved and just brainstorming and utilizing some of your efforts there. And then all the other folks listed on the slides here have been great at sponsoring and supporting that. And I might be premature, but we do have hopefully another sponsor coming on board really, really soon who are going to be helping sort of support and back this program. I won't name names because we've just put the application for the grant in, but we're hoping to hear back on that in the next week or so. So we're really looking forward to having another list name to put onto this. And then last but not least, if you guys want more information, we now have an official email address with our webpage. So it's hello@healthtie.org. shoot us an email there. We'll try to keep an eye on it. Kim or myself will get back to you through that email, and we'll be happy to sort of talk about that. Make sure that you're getting signed up for the newsletter so you can get access to the application form when it comes out. Again, signing up through the webpage at healthtide.org, and start letting people know that this program is coming together. I've had some very exciting meetings in the last couple of weeks, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys are taking 30 minutes out of your day to continue learning about this. I will hang out on the call for a second or two for those who do have any questions, but otherwise, I'm going to call it quits at 30 minutes. Thank you.
I just wanted to add one thing. Thank you, Nigel. This is Kim. So next Tuesday, for all the DD service providers on the line, we're going to be at the AADD meeting, and we're really looking for input and some interest from providers. And so look for that next week, and hope to see many of you there.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to call it quits if there's nothing else. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.